Hey, everybody. Welcome into the back room. I'm Andy Ostroy. We have Colorado Congressman Jason Crow with us today. We'll chat with the congressman in just a moment. But first, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you listening, and we'd love to hear your comments. So email us at backroomandy@gmail.com and or post on our social media, and we'll read some feedback next time. And if you like the podcast, please rate and review and follow or subscribe, and you'll be notified every time we post a new episode. So, Congressman Jason Crow represents Colorado's 6th Congressional District and serves on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and the House Armed Services Committee, on which he is the ranking Democrat of the Intelligence and Special Operations Subcommittee. He's a former Army Ranger and Bronze Star recipient who enlisted in the National Guard and worked construction to help pay his way through college. Congressman, welcome into the back room.
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Well, I'm a big admirer of your work, so it's a real honor to have you here. So let's get right into it. Let's start with the military and SignalGate. There's new allegations that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth shared sensitive military details yet again in a private Signal chat that included his wife, his brother, and his lawyer. This follows a month of utter chaos at the Pentagon, including the firing of several top officials over major policy disagreements. Is it time for him to go?
Well, first of all, this is why he never should have been in the job to begin with, right?
Exactly.
We're dealing with our nation's largest department, one that makes life and death decisions every day, multiple times a day. He has no experience running large organizations. He shouldn't be in the job. And this is exactly why in November, December, January, me and many others sounded the alarm. And kudos to my friend Don Bacon, Republican from Nebraska, for actually coming out today and saying that thing and saying that this guy doesn't belong here. So there's a couple of levels that concern me. I mean, there's many things that concern me, but a few that I think that are most noteworthy is one, the operational risk, the ongoing risk to our soldiers, to our sailors, to our airmen and women, to our Marines by having somebody without discipline, without an understanding for how these systems work and these agencies work running the show there. That's number one. Number two is the Trump administration's response, which is we don't give a damn. This guy can do whatever he wants to do. And it just shows how seriously or a lack of seriousness there is in this administration.
You're a decorated veteran. This is an area which you have a lot of expertise. What does it say to our active military where leadership and chain of command is so critical? What does it say to these brave men and women who valiantly serve this country when we have this level of chaos at the Pentagon?
Well, let me explain it this way. I was, I spent about 9 years in total in the service. Half of that was in the National Guard. Half of that was in active duty service. And I actually started as an enlisted soldier first, and then I became an officer later. So I started as a private and then went all the way up to captain and then ended as a captain. So I went to basic training as a private. And I remember day one of boot camp, they start drilling into you that the foundation of leadership in the military is leadership by example, right? The most powerful thing is not what you say, not the rules you set, simply the example that you provide to the people around you. That is the foundation of everything in military leadership. And then as you rise to the ranks, that continues to be ingrained in you, right? So, and that takes various forms. For example, when I was a paratrooper, in charge of paratroopers, there's this tradition that the highest ranking person in the aircraft jumps first, and then everybody else follows. And when you're out in the field or out on a combat operation and you get food, hot food, which sometimes is a rarity to come by, hot, fresh food, the highest ranking person eats last, right? So you jump first, you eat last. The message that the Trump administration continues to send is that the rules don't apply to me, right? If you're the highest person at the top, you don't actually need to follow the rules that everybody else does, right? If a private, a sergeant, a captain, a general had done any of these things that Hegseth is doing, they'd be gone, out in a New York minute, right? But here we are with a level of impunity that really is corrosive to the culture of our military.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to look at, for some, it's easy to look at this Hegseth situation in a vacuum, but there is a really disturbing pattern over the last 10 years among Donald Trump and his first administration and now the second administration is just a general disdain for the military, a general disrespect for the military, for the generals, for Gold Star families. How infuriating is that to you? How alarming is that to you as someone who did serve this country so admirably?
Yeah, it's maddening. It's really beyond maddening. And the reason is pretty simple, why they have a disdain and a lack of respect is because people like Donald Trump can't even comprehend the idea of selfless service, right? Everything is a business transaction to them. What can you get out of it? What can you extract from everybody and everything around you? The entire notion of selfless service, of dedicating your life to a higher pursuit, to a higher mission, is incomprehensible to Donald Trump and many of the people around him. So yeah, that's why he thinks veterans are chumps, right? Because what do we get out of it, right? Other than serving our country and pursuing a higher ideal and defending our family and our democracy, right? For them, that's a fool's errand, right? So they can never understand that. It's one thing for somebody like that just to be a multiple bankrupted, failed real estate investor, but when he's the commander in chief, it's a whole different animal, and it's pretty not just disturbing, but it's dangerous. It's downright dangerous for America, and we see that, right, in the manner in which we're walking away from our alliances, in which our reputation as a leader of the free world is rapidly being squandered. It's very appalling.
Well, let's shift to the economic turmoil in this country. The stock market is tanking yet again today. Dollar hit a 3-year low. Inflation, unemployment are up. Tariffs and trade wars are literally upending the global economic order. And consumer confidence is cratering. The biggest fear from Wall Street to Main Street is recession. Do you think we're headed to recession?
We might be. We might be heading towards a recession. I mean, I'll let the economists debate that. What I absolutely know is happening is the prices of almost everything are going up, that our workforce is being gutted, that we are squandering, again, our partners and our alliances. And Donald Trump is starting a trade war with pretty much the entire world, which is going to crater the middle class economy for a lot of folks. And that's the thing I'm concerned the most about, is the middle class economy. Right, I couldn't care less whether or not the top 1% billionaires get richer, which they may not. Those things come and go. But I do know is that the affordability of housing is going to go in the wrong direction. They're not doing anything to lower the cost of housing, lower the cost of groceries, to help people save for retirement, or help people achieve the American dream. Donald Trump doesn't care about that, and clearly his actions show that right now.
What we've seen in the last 3 months from Trump and Elon Musk and Doge is a usurping of Congress's authority over spending, over tariffs, trade, the gutting and closure of agencies, war declarations. And now we see a battle looming between him and Fed Chair Jay Powell, which could completely disrupt whatever order is left in the markets. Your Republican colleagues don't seem to care. They only care about their loyalty to Trump, not the Constitution. Are you starting to hear any concern from your colleagues on the other side of the aisle about some possible way of taking back some control that is constitutionally yours?
Well, let me I'd like to reframe this for a minute. When you talk about Trump usurping or Trump going around, Donald Trump is doing what Republicans in Congress allow him to do, right? This Congress has the power to stop much of this stuff. It does.
Yeah, totally.
They do, right? So I always want to be really clear that this is what Republicans in Congress are allowing to happen, right? Because they have prostrated themselves to Donald Trump, right? So they could tomorrow just say, nope, not on my watch. We're not gonna deport people without due process. We're not going to allow these tariffs and trade wars to go forward. They could stop it, right? And Democrats have tried to stop it. We, of course, don't have the votes, and we are working with Republicans. I have heard for a very long time. I've been fighting Trumpism and MAGA for about 8 years of my life now. And almost every day of that 8 years, there's some Republican that whispers in my ear, hey, I don't like this guy. I detest this guy. I just can't. I can't stand them. And let's wait until the era of Donald Trump is over, and then we'll work together again. And for almost 8 years, I've been saying, say it publicly.
Right.
Don't whisper in my ear anymore. I don't give a damn what you think. Right. I don't care what your opinion is. I don't care what you're willing to say behind closed door, because that does no good. Right. What we need is the courage of people like Don Bacon today, for example,
Yes.
who are willing to, at some sacrifice, speak up. And that's just very, very rare. Right. You're seeing Senator Murkowski start to do it. You see Don Bacon do it. You see others, but they're very small, very few in number.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your clarification, and that is exactly what I was asking, because you're 1,000% right that what we've seen going back to the first Trump administration and now in the first 3 months of this one is a total capitulation. They're just like, whatever you want, sir, we'll just rubber stamp it. That said, and the point of my question is, in the last several weeks, the shit is hitting the fan like never before. I mean, this is really dangerous existential stuff in terms of due process, in terms of the economy, in terms of the relationships overseas with our allies that you mentioned earlier. And that's what I was wondering, like, are you starting to hear the wind change a little?
I'm not going to count on that, because every time I think the fever has broken, which has happened several times,
Right.
the biggest one would actually be right after January 6th.
Right.
I mean, I remember sitting on the House floor at 2 a.m. in the morning on January 7th, after the Capitol Police and the National Guard had helped retaken the Capitol from the insurrectionists. And the place still smelled like tear gas. There was broken glass everywhere. The place was a wreck. And I remember sitting on the House floor having a conversation with one of my Republican friends. And he said, this is it. I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it anymore. And I said, well, okay. Well, what we need now is for you to speak up. We need you to show some political courage and to push back publicly and consistently and do it. And of course, that person never did it, right? And has continued to be a part of the problem. So what I have come to the conclusion of it is I'm no longer going to count on them having a change of heart and doing anything. If they do, great. I would prefer that they do. I would prefer that the fever would break and they would stand up tomorrow and say, we've had it, because that would be much quicker and much less painful. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to beat them. I'm just going to try to beat them. I just don't think that they've had too many opportunities. They know damn well who Donald Trump is. They've known it for years, and they just haven't done it. So they shouldn't be in the job, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go and I'm going to recruit candidates around the country. I'm going to try to take them out of their seats, right? Because I think that is the only way we solve this.
Yeah. Well, historically with Trump and the Republican Congress, is the fealty is deeply rooted in their fear of the base. You know, go against Trump, he'll primary you, you'll be out of a job. The difference is sort of, the landscape is changing a little bit, which makes me ask the question, when they start to think, given what we've seen at town halls, given the fact that people are looking at their retirement and savings accounts, are they possibly going to feel soon that, you know what, we're going to lose that damn job anyway?
Yeah.
If we don't do something. Yeah. And maybe is that get us to that inflection point?
That might, and it's a great point, because the thing that would help this happen sooner and end the pain sooner, in the turmoil, in the crisis that we continue to be in, is if, I'll put it this way. When I first came to Congress, I thought that the vast majority of my colleagues were there just to do the right thing, and were in pursuit of the right thing. What I have come to learn is that many of them, if not most of them, I mean, I haven't taken a poll, I don't know, but a large number of them are there to hold the job.
Yep.
They just want to keep the job. They just want to keep the title. And they'll do anything to keep it, right? So the risk assessment then becomes very simple for them. It becomes, who do we fear the most?
That's right.
Constituents or Donald Trump? And up until now, it's very clearly been Donald Trump. That is shifting in places, right? We're seeing these town halls. We're seeing People speak up in red districts. So if we're able to shift the risk calculus for them, and they're more afraid, frankly, of their constituents and losing the job that way, then that could break the fever earlier.
Yeah, well, especially as you said earlier, we know that they do not like Donald Trump. And so the minute they could dump him, I would think they would. You grew up in a working class family. You helped pay for your own college education by working construction jobs. You know these folks. What is the Democrats' message to the middle class, to working families, to veterans, seniors, young people? What's the plan amid this particular economic crisis to start winning back working class and middle class voters and earning their votes in 26, which is a really critical election?
Well, there's no secret to this, actually. Everyone's like, what's the secret slogan? What's the master plan? Like, what is what's going on behind the curtain? And the secret is there is no secret, right? You need great candidates that come from areas where people can relate to them, who understand their communities, and can build trust. And Democrats, a couple of things. Democrats too often think we're in a policy discussion. We think we're having a policy debate, and we're really not, right? Most of the time, or maybe the better way to put it would be, there are things that happen before the policy debate, right? Before you get to the point of having a policy debate, you need to get to the point of trust and understanding. And I'll put it this way. I worked in construction. I started working when I was 15 at McDonald's and Arby's, and then I worked in construction, as you noted. And when you're on that construction site, you shake everyone's hand, and you're feeling their hands, right? You're doing a callus check because you want to know, what type of person is this? Is this one of us? Is this person a working person, right? Because more than anything else, you want to know, do they understand me? Do they understand my way of life? Right. And many folks around the country, they kind of divide the world up between those who shower in the morning before work and those who shower in the evening after work. So that's the first piece, is understanding that too many people in too many areas of the country don't believe the Democrats respect them and understand them. Right. And unfortunately, there have been some very negative messages sent by some folks that reinforce that. And you just can't say that we've lost 90% of American counties in the last election, right? That's what Democrats said. We lost 90% of American counties. You can't say we're being successful in vast swaths of America. So making that firm connection, number one. Number two, this is where supporting great candidates makes all the difference. Because when you're flipping a Trump seat, a red seat, you're not running. In the next 17 months, we're not going to completely change the brand and people's sense of the Democratic Party, right? People are going to go to the ballot box and they're going to say, you know what, I still don't quite trust Democrats. And it's going to take a little while to rebuild that trust that's eroded over several decades, actually. But I like that woman. I like that man, right? That business owner, that combat veteran, that person running the nonprofit, that school board president. I know her. I trust him. There's somebody that understands me, and I'm going to go with that person. That's what we need to do.
Among your biggest advice for the party's candidates as they head towards 26 in the midterms is be authentic. Why is that so important, especially now?
Well, because people know when they're being BS. They do, right? I mean, Donald Trump's a weird outlier to this, right? Because the guy's a master manipulator and liar.
But he's authentic.
But yeah, he does actually say what's on his mind, right? That is true. And you actually listen to people coming out of Trump rallies, you talk to people coming out of Trump rallies, you talk to Trump voters, and I talk to a lot of Trump voters, actually. Me and my family are, in fact. And they're like, you know what? He says crazy things, but I like the way he talks, and he's honest, and he's a straight shooter, right? And he says what's on his mind. And that's probably true, actually. He probably does just say what's on his mind. So, people know generally when they're being BS'd, and too many elected officials, too many politicians try to become a caricature of themselves, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to a construction site, so I've got to go and I've got to buy the Carhartt jacket, and I got to wear the baseball cap, and I might as well throw some work boots in there. And you walk onto the site and everybody knows you don't belong, right? You're like, You just bought the Carhartt jacket. You don't know what the hell's going on. So just be yourself. If you've never worked on a construction site, you don't know what's going on, then walk onto the site and say, guess what? I've never seen this before, but I'm interested in what you do. I'd like to learn about what you do for a living. Can you show me? Can you teach me? Don't try to pretend. And that, of course, can be applied to like so many other examples of people who, stick their their finger up in the wind and try to figure out what direction it's blowing this week and what thing they need to be doing. Like, just be yourself. Just tell the truth. Just be a straight shooter, and people will respond to that. I really do believe that.
Yeah, I mean, look what's happening out there with Bernie Sanders and AOC and how they're energizing voters, putting aside whether one agrees with every one of their policies and politics is something different, but they are authentic. And I think that's what's resonating. And so what I would love to see is a broader swath of our Democratic leaders, congresspeople, senators out there doing the same thing, who are in perhaps a different part of the big Democratic tent. With the existential crisis we're experiencing right now, why aren't we seeing 10 people holding these ginormous rallies and stirring up the electorate?
Yeah, well, I'm of the view, I think our strategy should be all of the above, right? Like, listen, if we could have won elections, if we can win elections with big rallies and celebrity endorsements, and great videos and great, music montages, we'd be crushing it, right? Mm-hmm. We have plenty of that, right? But listen, when you're going into some places of the country, that stuff just matters a lot less, right? The large rallies, and I'm not saying it doesn't matter, right? I actually think there is a time and place. So let me be really clear here. My colleagues who are out doing that stuff are doing great work, and they're firing people up. They're bringing the heat. They're enthusiastic, and we need to be doing that. But what we also need to be doing is going to communities where that doesn't resonate and connecting in a different way, right? You connect sometimes at the diner. You connect at the Rotary clubs. You go to the Friday night fish club at the Catholic Church, where people are convening and coming together, and you just chat with people. Just be a normal person and listen to them. Like, that stuff matters an awful lot in a lot of places. That happen to matter a lot to us right now. And it should matter a lot to us all the time, right? And it matters a lot to me because that's where I'm from. That's who I grew up with. That's who I think about. But we need to be doing it more. And this goes back to, there's no secret sauce, right? People are like, what do we need to be doing? Rallies, Friday night fish fries at the church, Rotary clubs. The answer is yes, right?
Yeah.
Right. And different places and different people respond to different things.
You've never shied away from going against your own party and its leaders. As a freshman in 2019, you voted against Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. Last year, you called for President Biden to step aside. Does the Democratic Party have a leadership problem now? And I also want to ask you about what David Hogg, the vice chair of the DNC, is calling for, putting $20 million into primarying apparently safe district seats. Does the party need a shakeup?
Yeah, well, I think you're seeing, first of all, you can't lose across the board like we did in November and be like, hey, situation normal, let's maintain status quo, right? I'm not going to do that. So we are in the midst of a refresh, right? We are rebooting. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I see that happening. And that's one of the reasons why I took on this gig as their recruiting co-chair, to try to go out and find that next generation of candidates, because that's what we need to be doing, is refilling our pipeline with these folks who are service minded, right? That's why I'm focusing on the business owners, the combat veterans. I'm generally not focusing on the career politicians. I'm just going to say it, right? Like, that's not to say there aren't really good people who have been in politics for 15, 20 years who want to run for Congress. Yeah, there are some. But I'm looking for people who that are out there doing things, building businesses, raising families, just doing real regular work, who are willing to take some time away from their regular life and jump into public service, and they don't have to do it for the rest of their life. You can do it for a couple of years. Who are willing to step up and serve their country. But that's my approach. I do believe that we need a refresh and we need to reinvigorate leadership. I think we have some amazing folks, right? Hakeem Jeffries is doing an incredible job, in my opinion, as the head of the House. And, he is an incredible legislative leader, right? And when you're a legislative leader, what you're doing is you're enabling, right? You're supporting others to go out and do great work. And he's doing a really good job of that. And, this effort that's underway to primary safe seat Dems, it's not my focus. I can tell you that. Mm-hmm. My focus is on flipping seats, because the country that I love, the country that I have fought for, the country that I have known people who have given their lives for, is under assault. My community is under assault, right? The people that I am sworn to protect and defend are being attacked in a vicious way daily. And the way to stop it is to retake the House. Because Donald Trump doesn't give a damn how big our rallies are. He doesn't give a damn what I put out on Twitter. He doesn't give a damn what a lot of things that are happening. He cares about political power. So let's take his political power away. And we already established the Republicans aren't going to do it. So we have to do it for them. So my focus is winning Republican seats.
On that note, then, are you encouraged by what you saw recently in Florida with Gabe Alamont and Josh Wheel cutting by half the margins that their predecessors and Trump won by in November?
Absolutely. I mean, if those numbers hold, right? If that margin, about a 15, 16 point margin held, there are 60 Republican seats in the House of Representatives that then come into play based on that margin. Now, there's a long ways to go. We don't know what's going to happen between now and then. That's a snapshot in time, but certainly it's an encouraging sign. You combine that with what's happening at town halls, what we're seeing coming out of Republican red territory. What it tells me is that there's an opportunity, right? That this is way, way far from over, but there is an opportunity that if we engage the right way with the right people, and we're authentic and we're honest, and we bring the fire too, by the way, I think we need to be strong and fierce, that people will come our way.
My last question. We're going to see the Knicks and the Nuggets in the finals?
Yes. Yes, of course. I mean, that game the other night was winning by 2 in OT. Jeez.
Yeah. I'm a Knicks season ticket holder since 2001. And for your sake, let's see the Nuggets make it. That'll be a fun series.
All right. Well, that would be a fun series. That'd be amazing. Maybe we'll have to put a little something on the line here, Andy.
Yeah. All right. If they both make it, I'll make you a bet.
It's a very fragile state. So like games this close are tough for me to handle right now.
Yeah. And in New York, we waited a long time, so I'm not giving you anything. So no sympathy. The Knicks all the way.
All I got to say is the Broncos are going to be back this year, though. That much I know. They're coming back.
I'm just taking one sport at a time.
Yeah, that's fair.
All righty. Thanks again. Let's do this again soon.
Yeah, I'd love that.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, we too. Bye.
This episode of The Back Room was edited and produced by me, Andy Ostroy. It was co-edited and co-produced by Matty Rosenberg and co-produced by Jen Hammoud. Our theme song was composed by Andrew Hollander, and our logo was designed by Cricket Lengyel. And special thanks to Patricia Wind. Please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, and also follow or subscribe. Until next time, keep your eyes on Washington, Hollywood, and your own backyards, and have a great week.